Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody. Oh yeah. It's time for Tiger Claw Radio, everybody. I'm your host, Critical Failure. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about Killing Floor 2, Europa Universalis 4, and a bunch of other games that I'm playing for the first time, / haven't played for a really long time. Got some really good van casting, got some good comments to go over. It's going to be a really fun episode. Musically, I want to kind of reach out as well. I got a couple of different things I want to try. I'm going to do some vaporwave. There was I guess the word for it is memecore. I don't know. It's when they make like a vaporwave album that's really terrible and based off of a joke, but some of the tunes actually end up being really good. Well, there was one of those about The Room with Tommy Wiseau that I'm going to play a track off of. But first, it's Sad Speller. Sad Speller released an album called Corkage that I purchased off of Cassette Culture. It was the Cassette Culture subreddit. And they showed up and they were like, hey man, we just put this tape out. And I believe that if you just want to get the MP3s, I believe it's free. I think you can just go get them. But I bought the tape and I love this album. I love it. I'm not exactly sure the term you would use to describe it. Some people like shoegaze or dream rock or bedroom rock or something like that. To me, it just sounds like the kind of thing that would have been on the local rock station in like 1996, right? So you're listening to the radio, they'll play like Matthew Sweet, and then they'll play like Nirvana, but back when they would play songs from Nirvana that weren't Smells Like Teen Spirit, like maybe, I don't know, what would they play? Like Rape Me or Penny Royalty or something like that. Or and then after that you would hear this. This track is called River Bends. This is Sad Speller on Tiger Claw Radio.
Beachy sounds make the mountains
I love the old rock and roll sound. It really does sound like something that would be on the radio in the 90s. And that cassette, where is it? They included a really nice note in it too. That's something I've seen like a few independent cassette producers do that I get a big kick out of. They wrote, "Hey dude, thanks so much for picking up a tape. You're officially my only East Coast friend that I am aware of. Hope you enjoy the vibes and stay happy, Sad Speller." Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome, man. I'm just waiting for the next tape to come out so I can buy that twice as fast. So let's talk about some video games, boys and girls. It's been this has been the return to entry week for me. With MagFest now but a distant memory. I've just been getting back into work and surviving with my family and playing some games on the side, and the moments that I've had to do that have taken me pretty weird places. Not necessarily weird, not really weird, but I ended up playing games that are different from what I would have expected, and you're gonna find out what I'm talking about in the first Vancast. All right, so stick with me. We're going to the van. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. It's the Monday morning Vancast, everybody. Monday morning after MagFest. So I just pulled in from MagFest yesterday at about, noon or so. Finished up last week's TCR last night, a little short one. And now here I am the next morning, Monday. I'm off to work. It's a bitter cold morning, man. It really is. Feels good though. I'm ready to get back to work. It was a 4-day weekend for me. I took 2 days off, Thursday and Friday, so I should be able to dive back in and pick up where I left off, and everything should be fine. In the meantime, I'm buzzing about chiptunes. That's what's on my brain right now. Since I got back from MagFest, I've been looking around at Chiptunes Equals Win, looking at the other releases, and just trying to check out who's who. Mostly trying to look up the people I saw live in person, and try and figure out who was who. Because there's certain people like I saw them live, but I didn't exactly know who they were. So I'm like looking at the show bill and then trying to look up footage of that other people took, and it hasn't been easy. I know there was a guy called Dimeback that I thought was really good. I played him last week here on the show. I know Neon Deathcat, and that's about it. Yeah, and Glowmag. Those three. But there was at least 3 more that I saw that were like really good performers that I would have liked to have looked up. So, I don't know. I guess I dropped the ball on that one. Apart from that, it just kind of felt good to be back in my office this morning. I put on some tapes, sat in my chair, just doing what I could do to get organized, because that's the big thing, just getting organized. Started making a list of all the projects that I have open right now that need to be closed. I got a review that I'm going to finish up this week for Emerald Rangers, for a treasure hunting simulator game. So I should get that wrapped in a couple days. I just finished my review for Franchise Hockey Manager 5, and interestingly enough, that was a review code that they just sent me. I stopped asking for the Out of the Park Developments review codes. I was only really interested in looking at their main series, and their PR guy just kind of sent it to me unsolicited. So I decided, alright, we'll put together a review anyway. They sent the game. I took the time to activate it in my Steam account. I should check it out and give them something. So that got up. And now that said, now that that's done, I want to go back to work on my Green Leo album, while I'm still buzzing hard over chiptunes. Haven't had time though. I got home and went right to work trying to get things clean and resume fatherhood duties around the house. So I got home, went to work, taking care of stuff all the way up until I went to sleep. So the only real free time I've had since getting home from MagFest is from about 5 in the morning when I rolled out of bed till now, and it's 6:29 right now. I'm actually late getting out the door today. I usually get out, I like to get out at 6:15, but you know, I'll be fine. As far as video games are concerned, what video game would I play if I were back in the Panther Studios? Strangely enough, you know, the Christmas sale came and went, and these were big time sales for me. Like, I got a lot of stuff, but I haven't gone over what I actually picked up here on the air yet. So I'd probably comb through all that. I got to play Duck Game at MagFest. I played Duck Game with Angie and Hemrock in the room, and that was a blast. And I hadn't played Duck Game in quite a while. I think Duck Game, it supports online play, so you can get together online, you know, and duke it out, shoot it out, whatever. But being in the room, it has a certain magic when you're quacking away and everybody else is right there with you. Something that's kind of hard to replace. So it was awesome to be able to play that game, especially with Hemrock, because he hadn't played it before. So we had a good time. Had a really good time. I also got Super Mario War working. Hemrock was down in the arcade or somewhere. He was off doing his own thing, and it was just me and Angie in the room. And we were like, hey man, let's get Super Mario War working. Alright, so we got online, started looking for downloads, found something. We got version 1.7, which I think is not the most recent one. I think there was a 1.8 before they gave up the ghost, but it was a working version, so I nabbed it. And it had 0 joystick support, or 0 gamepad support, which was a problem. So the way it works is the controls are just assigned to each of the keyboard keys, right? So you've got one guy's using WASD and then 2 buttons. One guy's using the arrow keys and then control and shift. The other 2 guys are using like clusters of random letters in the middle of the keyboard. So I took the time to get all that assigned and joy to key. I had Angie working the controllers, running tests while I was like assigning stuff. So that was a long, arduous process. And then we never actually opened it up and played it. Which is kind of funny. But I did get Super Mario War up and running. I took a look at it. It's a cool looking game. And hopefully I'll have some way to use that now that I got it working. Alright, hang on a second. We're 7 minutes in. 7 minutes isn't too bad. So with that, if I were back in my place right now, I would definitely work with chiptunes, try and revive my album. I want to make a move off of FamiTracker. I want to use something that supports more channels. So the thing to do would probably open up a Milky Tracker tutorial and start trying Milky Tracker. Oh, excuse me. But I don't know. I think realistically, I would probably take the chiptunes that I have and then feed them into my DAW that I use, and then try and add some post effects to try and fill out the sound a little bit, just to see what can be done, you know, with a chiptune from FamiTracker to fill it out some. Yeah, that's what I would do. But for now, I'm off to work. I'm going to take care of responsibilities. I'm not bummed that I'm going to work. It's time, you know. Sometimes you just got to do it. And I'll see you guys back in the studio when it's all done. Take care. And that's it, man. I made it back to the studio. Did my day. What was it? Day at work. I'm trying to remember if that was in the morning or the afternoon. I don't know. But yeah, we're back to the studio, and let's play some vaporwave. All right. Now, who does this track? This is the problem with these vaporwave albums, where the titles and the people who do them are all in like Google Translate, so they can appear as Japanese. So I'm actually gonna look this up now, because this is like a silly album. You would look at it thinking it's not going to be anything, but then when I actually played it, I dug it. Try one last thing. Nope, I can't find it because the name is all in Google Translate. Poorly translated Japanese. Oh well. All right, let's give it a listen and see what you guys think. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Stick with me.
Hi. Can I help you? Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Oh, keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It has a fair bit of charm, I would say. What do you think? All right, let's not waste any time. Let's go back to the van. What's going on, everybody? It's the Vancast. It's going to be a super short one here on this Tuesday evening. I'm on my way to my weigh-in. That's right. I'm in Weight Watchers. Still doing it, man. Still doing what I can to keep trim, trying to stay healthy, stay alive longer, know what I'm saying? It was a pretty good day. I spent a lot of time today working on the magazine, which I think I'm going to go ahead and call the Tiger Score. Tiger Score, the Tiger Claw TV plug and play, or print and play magazine. And I got a lot of work done on it, just building a mock-up. Just finding out how much I can really fit on a single page, you know? Because that was the question. It's like, what if I was going to do a single page magazine? How much? What does that mean? How much can you stick on there? And I think the first issue is going to have a lot of stuff you guys have probably heard already. It's going to be about the pinball throwdown for the most part. The pinball throwdown, but I also want to touch on like what games to play. So like the quick mention of the retro gaming subreddit game of the month, and then the Cartridge Club game of the month as well. And then on top of that, the games that are being played on Atari Age, because Atari Age forums, they do high score battles like every week. So when you print this thing out, it should be like, okay, this game, and this game. And that's what people are playing on the internet right now. As well as, okay, here's the high scores that I've been able to scrape up. So the whole thing should be really simple. Another thing is I need a logo. I don't have a logo yet. I want something that's done with line art so that you can print it and it won't take up a lot of ink. But yeah, so that's coming along nicely. And it looks like I'm getting ready to pull into the place. So it's going to be a super short Vancast. As a matter of fact, that's going to be it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, that one was really short, so we're going to go right into the next one, all right? Let's go. It's the Vancast, and it's Wednesday afternoon. Driving home, and let me tell you, it's a zoo. It's snowing out, and it's snowing in high winds, so it looks like it's snowing from left to right instead of the snow falling to the ground. Pretty crazy, and it just started probably like a half an hour before I left work. So nothing is stuck, and I'm hoping I can get home before any major accidents happen on my route. So the pressure's on. We'll see how it goes. I've been battling with trying to find my keys lately. I have keys that have two of those car keys on them with the clickers, and I lost my keys somewhere in my house, and they've been gone for weeks now. And I looked into getting the car keys replaced today, and it's going to be $200 for new keys. So the pressure is on now to find these keys, because I don't want to have to pay $200. All right, hang on one second here. Come on now. I want a nice safe in. There we go. There we go. Hang on, bear with me. Hey, we made it. We made it. Yeah, so that's the thing. But, that is what it is. That's just daily routine. If that wasn't going on, it'd be something else, So just gotta ball my fist up and run right into it. Video game wise, I played Killing Floor 2 for the first time recently. Killing Floor was a game that I played a lot, probably about 5 years ago now. Back in college, I got into it with my friend who we started a little, I guess you would call it a clan, a little team of people. Killing Floor is, I think it's a 6-man team, 5 or 6-man team, against waves of enemies that pour in. And generally speaking, more enemies pour in than any one man can handle, right? So if you play by yourself, then you'll get slaughtered. And if you play with another friend and you guys just go off by your individual lonesome and try and take things on yourself, you will also get slaughtered. It's set up in such a way that you have to work together, and you're given tools to do so, like you can weld certain doors shut, and try and set up a funnel point, things like that. It's a really good game. And in the days of the original Killing Floor, I remember staying up late into the night and playing with my group. We called ourselves the Killing Floor Day Laborers, which is kind of silly, but those were really good times. And when Killing Floor 2 came out, I wasn't able to answer the question, how is it different from Killing Floor 1, enough for me to buy it. And this was like 5 years ago. Well, I finally bought it over the Christmas sale, and I sat down to play it for the first time yesterday, and I loved it. It was so good. It had everything that I enjoyed from the original Killing Floor, right? There's perks, right, and classes that, well, they call them perks, but they're essentially classes. You pick a class, and then as you play, you can level it up. And it's multiplayer based and stuff. It's got all the things I like. The only problem is none of my friends have this game. Everybody had the original Killing Floor, so I was able to work together a pretty decent squad of people, but none of my friends have this game, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I dig it, though. There's things that they've improved over the original game. The original game, each class only had 6 levels, right? And each time you passed the level, the perks you got from that particular class would get better. So if you were a medic, then you had an easier time healing people the longer you played as a medic. The problem was there was only 6 levels, and each level got more difficult to pass to the next. So by the time you got to level 5, you were playing 10, 20, 30, 40 hours in order to pass from level 5 to level 6. This game seems to have mitigated that by creating more levels per class, but you seem to pass through the levels much faster. So I chose to play support. I played a support class. Support is good at a couple things. They're the shotgun guys primarily. Shotguns, and they can weld doors shut really quickly, and they also carry a lot of grenades. Think of like a sniper, but the exact opposite of a sniper. Somebody who's in your face and uses guns. That's a support guy. That was my main class in the original. So I started playing as a support guy, and I passed several levels just in the first couple sittings. I only have 2.5 hours into the game, and I'm at what they call like a level 7 or so support class. So that's a major difference, being able to pass through these levels really quickly, and then the bonuses I get for each level is much smaller. So that's cool. I haven't played it online yet because of the way passing levels works. I wanted to play solo offline, which generally doesn't work very well, a few times, just to try and push through those first couple levels. That's what I did. Push through the first couple levels. So now when I start the game as a support class, all those shotguns deal just a little bit more damage. The shotgun penetration is just a little bit more, right? So if I'm firing into a crowd, which happens quite often in Killing Floor, the bullets are hitting more targets. 2.5 hours. I haven't played a single game online. Just playing offline, leveling up that Berserker class, or not Berserker, support class. Leveling up support, and I did play Berserker once. Berserker is a class that's strictly melee. So traditionally, Berserker was the hardest class to level up, or one of the hardest classes to level up. But it also had crazy bonuses. So yeah, I'm digging this game. I'm digging this game. I like the games that are multiplayer based and have, thriving communities around them. I think that's where it's at for me. Killing Floor was also one of the main games I was interested on the Ouya, right? We've been talking about the Ouya lately. Hemrock has been saying, hey, what's it like to have an Ouya in 2018? How about a review? Well, I found that Ouya controller, buddy. And one of the system selling games for me was Killing Floor Calamity, which was a remake of the original Killing Floor, but it was top down, more like a MOBA. This was around the time Dota 2 was first coming out on Steam. So there was a bit of a MOBA craze going on. And it's a fun game. It's not perfect, and it has those same flaws I talked about the original Killing Floor having, like it being really difficult to level up the classes, and there not being as many of them. But it's still a fun game. Fighting off the waves of enemies is a good time. So I'll have to, now that I have that controller back, I'll have to fire up the old Ouya and play Killing Floor Calamity a couple times. Well, with that, I mean, I'm driving in the snow. There's snow flurries going on right now. And when I get back home, I'm going to have to rip into my place and find those keys, because otherwise it's going to be $200. And that blows me, because up until losing these keys, I was thinking about like fun things I could do with my allowance budget. I wanted to get a T-shirt from Chiptunes Equals Win. They had T-shirts for sale at MagFest, and I was like, nah, I'll just buy one at home. And now I'm getting ready to lose $200 on keys. It's like, ugh. I wanted to get an 8-track player, and I was looking at those, and they're like $100 plus shipping. But you could get like a newly refurbished one, like an old one that has all the heads cleaned and the belts replaced and everything, for like $200. And since I don't know how to do any of that stuff yet, I thought, hey man, pay the extra $100, get into it with something, a piece of hardware I know I can get behind. There's worse things in the world to do. But yeah, it sounds like I can't do that either. Not until I find my keys, and I'm sure I'm not going to have to buy replacements. A little bummed about that. But you know what? This is when I always say this at the end of the show, man. When there's something that you don't want to do, or something that's hanging over your head, the best thing to do is run right through it. And that's what I'm going to do with these keys. I've made up a list of all the places it could be, and I'm going to tear my house apart today. And if I can't find them, and if they are just gone and that's it, then I'm going to have to pay the $200, and that's all it is. And then I can get it over with and get right back to recovering my money. But what I'm not going to do, hang on a second. What I'm not going to do is feel sorry for myself and be all bummed out, because that doesn't help. At any rate, what would I be doing if I didn't have to worry about all that and I was just back at home playing games? Probably be Killing Floor 2, because I played that a little bit this morning while everybody was asleep, and it was fantastic. It really was. All right, guys and gals, I'll see you back in the studio. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, back in the studio. I did make it home safe, by the way. It snowed pretty hard, but nothing stuck, and it really just kind of put me on high alert. But apart from that, everything was fine. Okay, so I've got, you guys remember Pterodactyl Squad, right? So when I used to get chiptunes, I would get them from a couple of places, not many. I would look at net labels, and I would go to the websites of net labels that I knew, and when they would put out new albums, that would be where our chiptunes would come from. Now I would do this from 8-Bit Peoples and Pterodactyl Squad. Now the problem was that both of those sites stopped putting out albums for a very long time. Well, as it turns out, they both have albums up now. Pterodactyl Squad had 2 albums up, and I think 8-Bit Peoples also had 2 albums up. So one of the albums from Pterodactyl Squad was from an artist called Pulsing. And the music sounds very stripped down. There's not a lot of instruments, I think, going at once. And the track is a little bit slow to start. But there's some good ambient music here. Some good ambient music. Yeah, my just jumping around and hitting play for to listen to it. At first I didn't think much of it, but if you let your teeth sink in just a little bit, there's some good tracks here. So this is the lead off track of the new Pulsing album. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Boys and girls, we're back in the studio. Just want to take a minute to thank the patrons. those of you guys who are giving of your resources to make sure that that I can keep coming back week after week to make these episodes. So these guys, I hope you're a supporter, because just this past week I put out the Tiger Claw chiptune review. Every song that gets played on TCR goes into this one sort of music mixtape. And I put out the second one just this past week. This time I narrated it a little bit, just enough so you know what song was what if you decided to chase down the albums. But that's up on Patreon now. And so the patrons get access to some supporter-specific content like that. They also get the show as soon as it comes out, and I also read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen, just to, tip my hat a little bit. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys very much for your support. I appreciate it. It's Friday morning, everybody. It's time for the Vancast. It is a cold one today. My goodness, it's freezing out. Hasn't been this cold in a while. All right, I'm just pulling out of the house. It is 6:23 in the morning, and I'm getting ready to go in and do my day of work. Off I go. Okay, so I was watching YouTube yesterday, and I got the bug to try Europa Universalis again. I used to play those games quite a few years ago, actually. I played Europa Universalis 3 pretty regularly towards the end of college. And I think one of the things that drew me towards it was I was playing a lot of shooter games at the time, and I needed a game that that I could play a little bit at a time and have open, in like the family room around my kids and stuff. So I would play Europa Universalis 3. I'd have it up on the family computer, so all the kids could see was like a topographical map of the world, or of Europe. And then whenever I had a free hand, I would stop at the computer and make some changes and advance time a little bit. And it was great for that. It was. I racked up a lot of hours doing very minimal play that way, though. So it's like you had over 100 hours? Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't feel like one of the 100 plus hour games, but it sure was. And I think that's a common thread with Europa Universalis. When people talk about it, it's like the time just disappears, which is pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So I have number 4, and I never really got into it. I picked that game up after I had already kind of was done with the series. So this morning I sat down on my computer, knowing I didn't have time to play a game like that. I played Killing Floor 2 when I woke up this morning. And then just before I left the house, I set all my grand strategy games to download and install. So we're talking Europa Universalis 4, we're talking Crusader Kings 2, we're talking Victoria 2, Hearts of Iron 3, all of the previous generation ones, like the original Victoria Revolutions or Revelations or whatever it is, the original Crusader Kings. The only older one I have that I didn't put on was Europa Universalis 3, because I want to play number 4. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to all that, man. Those games are games that have... Alright, so to turn back the clock a little bit, back in like 2010, when I first got a press account for Gamersgate, that's Gamersgate meaning the website that sells games. This was back when Gooch and the Douchebag was still around. They were, I think Crusader Kings 2 had just come out. And they said, alright, we're going to put like, 10 games in your press account, and you can play them and talk about them on the air. And one of those games was Europa Universalis 3. It was like my first taste of that kind of game. Europa Universalis 3 and Hearts of Iron 2. And this was when my son was a newborn, and there was very little time to play games. So my favorite system at that time was the Atari 2600. And the reason why was because I could stop, turn it on, play for 30 seconds, but that being enough to play an entire game, write down the score, turn it back off, and walk away. So I was pretty far from a place where you could play Europa Universalis or one of those grand strategy games. Yeah, so it's playing them again kind of takes me back to the Gooch and the Douchebag days. It's pretty fun. I will say this though, Steam needs to get all the oldies. Europa Universalis 1 and 2 are, in my opinion, conspicuously missing from Steam. I've got the first one in big box for the PC, which I love. I love my big box copy of EU. It's awesome. It never gets played because I have it on GOG.com, but I certainly have it. Rome is a great game as well. I didn't mention that one. There was a EU Rome, which they did a great job on. It had sort of a, it was way more advanced, I think, than the number 1 and number 2. Those two games were pretty similar, but not quite as advanced as number 3. So that was a good game. Also, the Roman Empire, that whole era, is a fun era to play as. You know, role play as Carthage, and then just try and paint the map green or whatever color Carthage was in that game. That's fun times. Again, though, I didn't get to play any of that this morning. I sat down with Killing Floor 2, which is what I've been playing up until this strategy game kick, which just kind of hit me last night. I've been playing Killing Floor 2 pretty much every morning, and that's a great game. Still playing as support, still using my shotguns. I just crossed into level 10 this morning. And to be honest, I think I'm ready to take on some multiplayer in that game. This is a game where the more you play, the more damage you do, the more effective a player you are. So I wanted to spend a little time grinding offline so that when I stepped online, I would be, I'm going to be a noob, but I would be able to hold my own a little bit. At least I wouldn't be starting from scratch. And I got up to level 10, which took 4 hours. I just crossed into the 4-hour mark. So I feel like I've reached the point where I can ethically go ahead and start playing online. I don't have to, it's not, you can play online right out of the box, but you're going to have a bad couple of games while you get your legs. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to be joining the game with a noob, and you're going to ruin their evening or whatever, morning or whatever it may be. But now I don't have to worry about that. So hopefully tomorrow morning when I get up, well, tomorrow morning will be Saturday. So yeah, who knows what I'll be up to then. But hopefully the next time I can sit down on my computer, if I choose to play Killing Floor over a strategy game, then I can start playing online, start talking to people and forming a squad, which is really where that game shines. It's where the first game shined. One thing I noticed, like a small detail about Killing Floor 2, in the original game there was weapons like lying all over the place on the ground, and one of the common tricks would be to pick up a weapon off the ground and then in between waves sell it to the trader, and you'd get a bunch of money that way. There's way less like weapons lying all over the place in this game. They're still around, but it's not as, you can't count on it like you could in the first game. And I've also noticed when I sell the weapons, then the money that I get is not what it used to be either. So the economy's changed a little bit. But in order to balance that out, all the classes start with their required weapons, which I think is a huge plus, right? So in the first game, you would play as a sharpshooter, or you'd play as the support class, which uses shotguns, or the berserker, which are 3 completely different classes, and they all require completely different weapons. But when that game started, everybody was starting with a pistol. Unless you leveled up for hours and hours and hours and hours, you were starting with a pistol. This game doesn't have that. As soon as you drop in, if you drop in playing support, you're holding a shotgun. If you drop in playing as a berserker, you're holding some sort of combat shovel axe thing, which I think does a really It does a lot for separating what the classes are and how they're supposed to be played. So I'm digging it. I think it's awesome. Alright, where are we at now? Talked a little bit about Killing Floor. Talked a little bit about Europa Universalis and Grand Strategy games. So the question of what I would do if I was back at home, I think I pretty much answered already. It would depend. When I sat down to play video games going back home, it would depend on how much time I had. If I only had like an hour, I'd probably play more Killing Floor 2. But what I really want to play is Europa Universalis 4. That's what I want to play, because those games are amazing. March of the Eagles is another awesome game. That's more of a war game rather than like a grand strategy game. But it runs the Europa Universalis engine, so it's very familiar if you play those kinds of games. Yeah, I'm on my way to work now, but in my head, I'm back there playing games. So we'll see how it pans out. Hopefully I can get my head back in the office so I can do what I gotta do. Alright, homies. I'll see you back in the studio. Just hang on a second so that I can turn this recorder off safely. And we are out. All right, boys and girls, we're back in the studio, and we're just getting ready to sit down and do the fail bag here. But I think I'm gonna play one more track, and the reason I'm gonna do one more, I typically cap off at 3, but we're gonna do a 4th one this week because I found the perfect track to play. This is the album is called Free the Music, and there was a series of these. They're compilation albums, and this is Free the Music Volume 1, and it's the Synthwave compilation. It's 10 tracks. What's the running time? About an hour. 42 minutes and 19 seconds is the running time for the album. We're going to play the 3rd track. It's from John Liss. This sound that you're going to hear in this track, this is the sound that I'm after, and this is what I'm looking for when I'm cruising albums on Bandcamp. It's not always what I find. As you can hear up to this point in the episode, a lot of times I'll find other stuff that's different, and I'm cool with that too. But this is what I'm seeking out right now. You guys, again, this is John Liss, L-I-S, and the name of the song is The End. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got the name of the song wrong. It's not The End, it's It Still Hurts. Okay, I got the song titles mixed up. Anyway, whatever, here we go. Doing it now. Can't turn back. That's a 4-minute track as well, 4 minutes and 4 seconds, and it's the 4th track. So I hope this episode doesn't feel a bit too much like a mixtape. It's funny because this is probably the most van casting I've done in quite a while, and the most music I've put in a single episode in a very long time. So now that I'm sitting down to put everything together, I've really only been working on this for about 20 minutes or so. And we're 52 minutes and 54 seconds in? Jeez Louise. We're about to pass the hour mark, guys, and I haven't even opened the comments yet. Let's take a look. Big thanks to everybody who watched the Cassette Culture mixtape exchange video. That was... it did very well for a Tiger Claw TV video. It crossed the 50 view line, and 50 views, I know for every competent channel out there, 50 views is a video that didn't get watched, right? It's like, oh hey man, it's not enough views, not a lot of views. Even my son, I was showing it to my son who's 9, and I was like, it got 50 views. It's the best video I've put out in quite a while. And he was like, that's not a lot, Dad. It's a lot for me. Just chill out. All right. So what we're gonna do now? I'm gonna go to. Let's see. Rather than go directly to last week's episode, I'm gonna do the Creator Studio, and we're gonna see just how it went. Community. Okay. See, somebody left a comment on my MS-DOS menu program video, which, by the way, that video for the MS-DOS menu programs, that did okay. It looks like it crossed, what are we talking about view-wise? It's about to cross 3,000 views. So those MS-DOS videos, man, they had a real slow build. They didn't do well out of the gate, but people keep finding them and watching them and stuff, which just makes me very happy. And he types, you can just type in the file pathway into the command prompt too. Because he's saying there's no need for a menu program because you can just type the file, the pathway every time. Yes, that's true, Mel. If you know the pathway to every single exe application you have, you can do it that way. But the problem is, number one, a lot of people will forget where files are on their computer. I mean, it happens to Windows users and as well as Linux users if you're using a GUI. It happens all the time. So you got to remember not only where you put things, but how to spell every single word leading up to that application. But you're right, yes, it can be done. And with a lot of programs that get a lot of repeated use, you can set it up in such a way that you'll know what those things are, like C:\utils whatever application you need. And there you go. Okay, so C:\utils gaze right? So that would be the program I would use to like view JPEGs from DOS. So yeah, you're right. It can be done, but I think for an MS-DOS hobbyist, I think that's a little unreasonable. But that's an extended answer for somebody who I doubt is listening to this podcast. But just in case you cruise in, thanks for watching the MS-DOS video. Alex Swingle, right? Let's see. Now that was a token comment, so let's read the first one he put. Let me back up just a little bit. Putting the in a resort. Magfest. Nicely done, Alex. Mecha Menace writes, what? Sunday TCR? Well, here we go. Yeah, man, what happened was I took the time to get TCR finished just before, and it was Sunday night. I was finishing everything up Sunday night, got the video put together and everything. And it came to the realization, it's like, if this doesn't go up right now, I'm not getting it up in the morning. So that's what I did. Last week it went up Sunday night just to make sure it got out. Because there's people who are supporting, so I feel like I made an agreement that TCR would come out, so I'm doing what I can to make sure that happens. He also writes, I was so excited to talk about Armed and Dangerous, but then I realized you mentioned Hidden and Dangerous. Are you sure you can't talk about a gun that shoots sharks that swim through dirt and chomp enemies, or a weapon which drills into the ground that you can hang onto for dear life as your enemies fly off the world? Sad face emoji. Well, I'll tell you what, Mecha Menace. You want it? Let's do it. I don't know what game you're talking about, but that's the great thing about the internet now, is we can just take a look. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right. Armed and Dangerous? That sounds like a PS2 game. Armed and Dangerous. Oh, my spelling is atrocious. Dangerous. Gameplay. Alright, it's loading. Armed and Dangerous PC Games gameplay. No, this is a PC game. 51 seconds. Alright, let's take a look. It's loading. We've got a LucasArts game. Tell me how close this is, Mecha Menace, if I'm looking at the right thing. Looks like old CGI. There's like a talking skeleton, and he's picking up a baby. There's a dinosaur lying down. He's trying to feed the baby to the dinosaur. And the dinosaur comes to life. Very weird. I don't know, man. I've never seen this before. It's from an era of gaming I really like, and it's LucasArts, so it must be good. Let me know if that sounds like I'm looking at the right game. He also writes, I was thinking about what I said some episodes ago about finding a backup of Super Mario War since the official site is deleted, most likely due to some Nintendo threat. Shrug. Well, I must have deleted my copy. A quick Google search brought me to a URL, and you guys can find that in the comment section of the last episode, where there is a copy of the latest version. I already downloaded it and scanned it for Viri. It is safe. I played it a bit. It runs. It's better with humans, especially if you have 2 players jamming on the same keyboard, or 4 players on 2 keyboards. Enjoy. Mecha Menace, my brother, thank you so much. So I followed that link earlier in the week when I saw that you had wrote this, and I got it and I downloaded it, and that was it, man. I had downloaded 1.7. That was the version number that I found at MagFest. And then what you have there is 1.8 beta. Now, I ran the version you have here, and I don't know exactly what the differences are, but this is the most recent one, clearly. And I did meticulously set it up during MagFest. Oh man, I said his real name. That sucks. I gotta go back and edit it now. Alright, I think we're in the clear. Okay, so me and my friend, we downloaded 1.7 of Super Mario War, and we meticulously set up Joy to Key to handle several controllers. At least 3, not 4, but 3 controllers. So unless I can find a 4th person to play, which is very rare, nobody actually has to use the keyboard, which is sweet. Very cool. But after we took all that time to set it up, we didn't actually sit down to play it. So go figure. But the version you sent, the newer version 1.8, seems to have the same default keys. So the Joy to Key setup that I made for the previous version, it still seems applicable. So thanks very much. I downloaded it. I saved it in my freeware folder. And the next time I have some bros over, I'm good to go. All right, Mecha Menace, thanks, man. Thanks for writing in. Swingle as well. We got one from... Okay, so this is in response to the cassette culture video. So I made that, and I posted it on Reddit under cassette culture. And this is from Marie Dale. She writes, this was great. There is definitely an audience for it. Keep these coming. Thanks. Much appreciated. I'm doing another one on getting things together for my own personal cassette release. Just getting the equipment together and taking a look at other DIY releases and how they're done and how I plan to do my own. I have 3 albums out that are 20 minutes apiece for Greenleo, and I've compiled most of an album of tunes that never got used. Most of that. I still have some stuff on my phone, but cramming all 4 of those albums together, I should be able to make a decent 90-minute tape if I can get some 90-minute blanks. And I was thinking I was going to put together, I've got commercial cases, I've got a label maker, and now I got a nice hi-fi stereo setup. I can do some DIY tapes. I'll make not a lot and nothing. This is not a money-making venture. I would do like 5 or 10 and then just sell them at cost of parts, not to make money, but just try and get my art out there. And there hopefully there would be some Greenleo cassettes in the future. I don't know how that'll go over. I'm sure I'm gonna take a bath on it, and I might sell one and then just hold on to the rest forever. And then you know what? That's okay if that happens. But yeah, I think another good cassette culture video would be putting together a project like that. So thanks, Marie. Let's see. Hemrock replied to the same video. He said, "This was the most enjoyable TCTV vid I've watched lately. Keep up the great work." Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that because I actually put some time in editing that video, and I almost never edit anything. But that was actually shot over the course of like a month. I had all sorts of different footage, and I pieced it together, and I'm glad it came out well and you enjoyed it. It felt more akin to the way I used to do my video game videos. Gaming Beast writes, "Have you posted some pachinko game footage yet? Might be cool." I should do that tonight, but no, I haven't. Appreciate it. Let's see. Alex Swingle writes, "Now for the real comment." Awesome. Thank you so much. Now for the real comment. I got the PlayStation Move set, camera, wand, motion controller, and I'm loving it. It's working very well as a light gun, and almost every light gun game for the PS3 supports it. Very cool. I got hell immersed playing through Rambo with it. Awesome. One of my favorite moments was trying out archery in Deadman's Castle. You hide the wand behind your back, hold down the trigger button, point the wand at the camera, then release upon sighting the target. All the boxes checked. It was one of those purchases I was curious about, but never was sure if it was better than the Wiimote. Holy moly, I am amazed. That's cool, man. I'm really glad. Around the 14-minute mark, you dying randomly in Duke. This is what my brother Scott often says. Death Adder wasn't getting that glitch on the Xbox One version. You lucky dog, getting random death glitches and all that. Glad you enjoyed MagFest. It's one hell of a trap when companies like Disney advertise memorable experiences for kids as an incentive to visit their overpriced parks. Most kids have a hazy memory until 8 years old, and even then will forever hate the experience if they have to force march their way through the park to get the money's worth. That happened to me and my family when my family took a trip to Disneyland. I walked about 12 miles that day and hated most of the visit. What was cool was getting some awesome promo cards for the Digimon card game due to Universal Studios giving them out to kids. That and Star Tours. No one can deny Star Tours. A lot of really good stuff in that comment, my man. Let's start at the end and work backwards. So we don't force, it's really important, we don't force the kids to walk 12 miles in a single day. It's one of the reasons we tend to do Disney World. We don't go for a single day. We stay down there for a week, and then we take the park activities and kind of chop it up. Because kids can't do all that walking. No way, that ain't happening. And let's see. Yeah, that wouldn't go well. What do you say? What else to talk about? Star Tours is awesome. You know, they changed Star Tours. They changed it so that now the ride happens in like 3 segments, and each of the 3 segments was filmed like 10 different times or something. And then when you do the ride, it's one combination of 3 that'll be different every time. So it's like different every time you ride it. I don't know. I did the new one once. I thought it was fun. I don't feel the need to do it again, but I thought it was really awesome. And the whole PlayStation Move thing, that's cool, man. My father-in-law has one of those. We'll have to track down some shooter games, some rail shooters. I think that would be really cool. Especially since when I was at MagFest, I got to play House of the Dead 3, like with a light gun on an original Xbox, and I really enjoyed it. Like that was one of those moments that nearly sold me on the hardware. It was just a cheap Mad Catz light gun, but that's something that they do every year. They set up a light gun alley with several CRTs and all sorts of different light gun games, like the Super Scope and the Nintendo Zapper and stuff like that. Original Xbox was the only one I played this year, but it was worth it. That was all I needed. Well, whatever's brought you here 1 hour and 7 minutes into the podcast, thanks for spending your time here. I appreciate it. And even though I'm out $200 with losing my keys, you know what? I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to let it stop me. And I got to say, doing this podcast this week, I found to be very therapeutic. It helps me a lot to be able to just pull out the phone and just have a conversation with you guys while I'm driving to work. I appreciate you guys keeping me company. It's been awesome. And I want you to know that whatever you're dealing with, whatever's going on, I'm wishing you the best. Keep at it. I'll see you next Monday.